here's Brody Brazil.
In covering the ongoing situation surrounding Angel Stadium and the city of Anaheim and what is the future of that venue and that land, I've obviously been paying attention to every bit of coverage from Southern California that I can get. But there may have been something that I totally missed. And this came with the busyness of opening day, the start of the baseball season. But I do believe this negative audit, this bad audit of Angel Stadium, this might factor into the future and any kind of deal between the city and the Angels ownership that ever happens. This might actually have more weight than anything lately that's been going on. So let me rewind here and get some coverage from NBC4, the television station down in Los Angeles. This was at the end of March. State Auditor Grant Parks had issued a review of Anaheim's lease with the Angels for Angel Stadium, criticizing a lack of access for inspections and its revenue-sharing terms, which compare unfavorably to other stadiums in the state. And there's a lot of other examples: baseball stadiums, football stadiums, hockey and basketball arenas. So the state auditor was asked to go over the entire situation of the lease between the city of Anaheim and the Angels for Angel Stadium and that property. And yeah, it came out to be a pretty unfavorable audit. Senator Tom Umberg, a Democrat from Santa Ana, who asked for the audit with Assemblyman Avelino Valencia, also a Democrat from Anaheim, in August blasted the lease agreement and said he will work with the city on how to get more detailed inspections of the nearly 60-year-old stadium. And I should also back up here to remind you that among the oldest stadiums in baseball are obviously Fenway Park and Wrigley Field. But those are cathedrals. Those are historical landmarks, and those will be preserved forever. They've been redone so many times over. And the same thing with Dodger Stadium, which is, I believe, the third oldest stadium in Major League Baseball. That one has been totally overhauled too, many times over. Angel Stadium has got some upgrades, has had some renovations, but it is approaching 60, and it's nowhere near in the same state of care as all these others are. So it definitely is up there in age, and it's also definitely on the lower end of total overhauls and renovations. Quote, if nothing else, we need to at least look out for the health and welfare for folks who attend the stadium, Umberg said. One of the most stunning terms of the lease agreement, he said, is the prohibition on inspections, which I think is outrageous. Wait a second. The city of Anaheim owns the land, owns the stadium, owns the building, but can't inspect the building? There's a prohibition on inspections? Why would that be? And how would the Angels have the right to close the doors? This is the typical landlord and person renting situation. If you're renting the facility, you don't own it. You don't have the right to tell the landlord, we can't do this inspection or there's a prohibition on it. But again, maybe that's in the terms of the lease. Like, that is how the lease was spelled out. So it's not that the Angels are acting differently now. It's the fact that whoever drew up this part of the lease, it does kind of seem outrageous. It's not a necessary change that's happening. It's not something drastic. It's just an inspection, a periodic inspection once in a while. A detailed assessment of the stadium is also necessary, quote, in terms of the deterioration of the asset, Umberg added. This is a huge asset to the taxpayers of Anaheim. We have an obligation to ensure it's basically not falling to the ground, end quote. And I agree. This is not a 6-year-old facility. It's not a 20-year-old facility. This is a 60-year-old facility. And trust me, as somebody who lives in a, I think, 60-year-old house or close to it, you start to get into age and things needing replacement and a lot of maintenance and just stuff that needs to be looked at, that if it were a younger venue, you wouldn't have to take these precautions. Umberg said extreme weather from climate change poses new risks to the stadium that weren't there when it was built, such as high winds fueling wildfires. Quote, this building was built so long ago, the conditions that existed back in the day have changed. That, he said, is an immediate concern. Anaheim Mayor Ashley Aiken said, the audit will help guide city officials going forward. Now, the mayor has recently been the one to, since this audit came out, try and push things forward. She wrote the open letter to Artie Moreno on the Angels home opener, which was about a week after this audit came out. And she kind of stood alone, and other city council members have actually since then gone to her in a public meeting and said, we wish you wouldn't have done this all by yourself. we need a group effort here, but she tried to start the conversation, push some negotiations. What are we going to do here with this stadium? If you want to buy it, what's a proper sale, procedure and price and all that stuff. But here's what the mayor said, quote, "We welcome the recommendations, which will inform any future lease discussions," Aiken said. "Our residents can rest assured that any future lease will be better and stronger." Well, as it relates to the city side, I mean, the lease is pretty beneficial. I think it's like $1 a year of rent for the team side. There are some other ways the team has to pay the city of Anaheim if they exceed a certain amount of tickets sold. But the bottom line is the city is saying, well, now that we've seen this and been alerted to this, we have to do better and stronger. This is a 30-year-old lease that we are bound by. The Sidhu Council, Mayor Harry Sidhu, former Mayor Harry Sidhu, had the opportunity to address many of these issues and didn't. By the way, Harry Sidhu was recently sentenced to prison over a corruption scandal. He was trying to go behind his own city's back and offer inside information to the baseball team on a potential sale and purchase. Moving forward, I'm confident in our city audit team's oversight of this lease with our latest audit set for later this year. So they're going to do another audit based on the fact that the state has said you don't do this often enough and you don't actually have tabs on what's going on here at this stadium. The city's share of ticket revenue is $2 for every ticket sold, in excess of 2.6 million tickets annually, the auditor said. There you go. So it's not just the dollar per year of rent that the Angels pay. It's the fact that if they do so well in ticket sales, the city gets to benefit. And for a lot of years, the city got to benefit. However, quote, "Low attendance meant that Anaheim did not receive a share of baseball revenue between fiscal years 2020-21 and 22-23, Parks wrote in his letter as part of the evaluation of this audit. So a couple years of lesser crowds, and all of a sudden the city of Anaheim is not making much off this deal. It's not as beneficial by any means. Quote, "In the nearly 30 years between fiscal years 1997-98 and 2024-25, Anaheim received a revenue of $30.6 million from baseball ticket sales, parking, and other events, while incurring $30.2 million in expense for debt service and stadium maintenance, resulting in a net total of just $415,000 for Anaheim over this period." This is what the auditor is saying. This is not what the Angels are saying or what the city of Anaheim is saying. The auditor is saying Anaheim, in 30 years, you basically profited only $415,000 by having the Angels use this stadium, excluding rent revenue and stadium renovation costs. So the point is, maybe they could do a little bit better moving forward. Quote, "Angels ownership pays no ongoing rent and will pay no ongoing rent despite its option to extend the lease with Anaheim multiple times, including the 3-year extension option that it exercised a couple months ago back in February 2025. So let me read this first and then explain it. The city's lease runs through December 2032, and it can be extended for up to 6 more years, even past that. There are these outs for the team, but so long as they keep in the lease, they pay no ongoing rent and will pay no ongoing rent. The city of Anaheim does not have these same escape clauses. The Angels can keep re-upping their lease. When these windows open, they say, nope, we're going to take it. We're going to stay right here. We're going to keep riding this very good wave of a deal. The city and the Angels could be on a collision course in court. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting. Again, maybe you've stuck through this video for 8 minutes. You're saying, well, what's the hook here? Obviously, they can't inspect the facility. Anaheim's not getting a lot of money out of this facility, but what's the hook here? The city and the Angels could be on a collision course in court over a disputed amount of money regarding repairs over the years, the auditor said. Basically, because this is so wishy-washy and there's not a lot of black and white to this, there's so much gray area that there could be room for legal proceedings. The auditor faulted city officials for making just, quote, minimal efforts to verify that the profit sharing with the team was accurate. Wait a second. The city is at fault, the auditor said, for making minimal efforts to verify that profit sharing was accurate. Like, how much actually are you making? Oh, we'll just trust you. You made $5? Great. We'll take 50 cents. When they actually made $50. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might want to see the receipts so you could actually make this a fair transaction. Quote, Angels ownership annually provides the city with letters indicating the revenue due to the city but the letters do not include any supporting documentation, the audit reports. I mean, we're on the trust system here for how much revenue. It's like maybe paying your taxes at the end of the year. Is it entirely a trust system? No. I mean, you have to file all the paperwork. You get it from your employer. You have to maybe submit that to the government. Like, everybody's in the loop here with the paperwork and the documents. And in this case, the paperwork and documents are not even being exchanged here. City staff verified the baseball ticket sales figures at Angels ownership reports by comparing them with figures reported by Major League Baseball, but do not take other steps to determine whether the parking or other event revenues appear reasonable. So Anaheim hasn't even been checking the team. And again, so as much as the city can say, well, you won't even let us inspect your building, but then on the other hand, the city's also not even double checking how much money the team is making and how much the city should be collecting over the years. Again, you can start to see all these gray areas get bigger and wider and the room for potential conflict when they actually have to come together and make a deal. The non-baseball events at the stadium, such as monster truck shows and motocross competitions, quote, have been Anaheim's largest source of stadium revenue in recent years. But, the report says, city staff neither document the other events held at the stadium nor request any information about other events from Angels ownership, according to the audit. And I laugh here, but again, like, this is an asset. Everybody knows in the city of Anaheim, this is an asset. And all you're bound to do is just double check the math and not be on the trust system. You've been trusting the Angels for 30 years on this, and maybe that's why you've only made $400,000 off the team situation. City officials say they depend on, quote, periodic audits rather than auditing twice a year as allowed under the lease, according to the audit. Now, that's amazing. The city can audit the team up to twice a year, but there's a prohibition on stadium inspections, like to make sure that the infrastructure works and the heating and the cooling and the pipes and the electrical, like the structure, the foundation, all that stuff. They can't inspect that, but they can audit the team twice a year, and they don't even do that. Auditing twice a year is allowed under the lease, according to the audit. Over the last 12 years, there have been just 2 audits, in 2013 and in 2018, the auditor said. So it's been about 7 years since, but good to see that the city is already on it. So let me begin with my takeaways. This video has already gone far too long, but I had to explain so much. This is so deep. Now you can start to see the deeper picture of what's going on here. It seems like both sides have dirt on each other. The city can point at the team and say, well, you don't even let us inspect the building. But then people in the public can point at the city and say, well, wait a second, you're not even counting how much the Angels owe you. You don't even know if you're getting paid the right amount for this. You're shorting us as taxpayers of this city of Anaheim. You don't even know if you're doing the job properly. So there can be fingers pointed all the way around here. And like I said before, when it ultimately comes down to, hey, we need to make a deal, we need to sell this land, which, by the way, I'll talk about OC Vibe here in just a second, has kind of similarly been done right across the freeway. But when it comes time to making a deal and selling this for the right price and who's been benefiting off of this deal for a long time, are they just going to put blinders on to the past and say, well, whatever happened, happened. We're only here to make this deal here and now. Or are both sides going to say, well, we've been doing you a favor for a very long time, so now we want something in return? Speaking of what's going on surrounding the Honda Center, I mean, this is kind of what the Angels want to do, is what the Ducks ownership are doing literally right across the freeway over at Honda Center. Honda Center is the indoor arena opened up in the 90s, home of the Anaheim Ducks, and has been surrounded by parking lots for years, like a lot of venues were when they opened up in the 80s, 90s, and even 2000s. And so now the owners of the Ducks are developing everything surrounding Honda Center. The fact that construction just got underway, they're doing it in phases. It's supposed to wrap up in the early 2030s. It's called OC Vibe. But that's exactly what Artie Moreno and Angels ownership want to do on their side of the freeway. My point is here, is there a market for 2 outdoor stadium villages, an arena district and a stadium villages, like right across the freeway from each other? It's kind of crazy that maybe the Angels just missed out on this. Maybe they're late to the party. Maybe it's not going to fly like the Ducks. No, I'm not going to do that. Maybe it's not going to go the same as what the Ducks are doing right across the freeway. And so there is an example of how to get this done. There is kind of a template. The Ducks are doing it. Now, I don't know all the financial details of how the land was acquired, or I think they might already own it with the ownership of Honda Center that the team has. But the bottom line is there's already a comparable, a comparable development going on across the freeway. So the Angels would have to be in line with something just like that. So is there too many projects of the same kind that the Angels want to duplicate something that's already happening? And then the last thing here, stadium age, approaching 60 years. Is that a big deal or is it not? Does the stadium really need $200 million in replacing of things or all the systems and areas? And I'm not even talking about the luxury stuff. I'm talking about the bare bones and basics of a structure that's approaching 60 years old and has been redone. It used to be football and baseball for the LA Rams. Now it's been the Angels for multiple decades only. But does this stadium need some TLC? Does it need some money and some attention poured into it so that it can last? Or is it actually not falling apart, but is it having some issues? We don't know because proper inspections, at least by an outside source other than the team, haven't been allowed to happen. So is the stadium age only an inconvenience here? Are we going to play this up like, uh-oh, it's falling apart, it's a big deal? Or is it just fine? I guess we don't even know yet, but at least the audit has brought all of this to light. Okay, went on way too long, but I thought you might appreciate all those very inside details and this backstory, because knowing this, it'll help us understand whatever happens next between the city of Anaheim and Angels ownership. By the way, the city has already said they're going to start in their council meetings putting forward the path of how they want to deal with the Angels. They know this is right around the corner. They know that the Angels are trying to get something done. They're not opposed to it. They just don't want to get fleeced by it. Let me know in the comments section below what you think about all this. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Greatly helps me and this video and this channel. And one more request, if you would. Subscribe to this channel if you're not already. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.